The actors have also said a couple things about what's going on with their characters, so I'll just work that in as we work our way down this list. We've only got a couple weeks to go before the season starts, so be sure to subscribe if you're just finding me for the first time or if you're coming back for Game of Thrones. I'll be doing videos all season long. I do weekly book giveaways. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So starting with number 10, this scene seems like it's the same one that we see during the trailer. Cersei outside the Red Keep watching Euron ships come in with the Golden Company. This really seems like an episode 1 scene because the only teasers that we got for her storyline during season 8 at the end of season 7 were reminding Jaime that she was pregnant. She referred to the baby as the one yet to come because she doesn't know whether it's a boy or a girl or a hideously deformed dwarf for all you truthers out there. They usually start each character's scenes at the beginning of each season addressing where they left off, so the smug look on her face just seems like she's supremely confident that all that gold from the Iron Bank that she spent on the Golden Company is going to pay off. Remember, she's back to zero with the Iron Bank because she spent all that Tyrell gold to repay the Iron Throne's debt to the Iron Bank lump sum. That's why he was so surprised, like maybe there's something else that we can help you with. Maybe there's another loan we can give you. That's where she got all the money for the Golden Company. So as of the beginning of season 8, the Iron Throne is back in debt to the Iron Bank.
My only venture at this moment is re-establishing control over this continent and every person on it.
I see a great deal of potential in that venture.
I imagine it would require outside investment.
It will indeed. I need to expand my armies, my navies. My hand, Qyburn, has made overtures to the Golden Company in Essos.
So Lena Headey was talking about Cersei's storyline and says that she feels kind of trapped during season 8, but she's putting on a brave face. Part of the box that she sort of builds herself into is being in debt to the Iron Bank again. Remember, that's always been a really big problem for the Iron Throne, going all the way back to Robert Baratheon. Even at the beginning of the season, part of Littlefinger's scheme to destabilize the realm and just create chaos was just continue to find ways for Robert to work them deeper into debt. Moving on, number 9, this is Sansa meeting Jon Snow and Daenerys. Look at Brienne and Pod behind her. She's putting on her best resting bitch face. This is Maester Wolkan standing right next to her, and you can actually see Bran sitting in his wheelchair if you look way down at the bottom of frame, but it kind of cuts him off at the head. This is a much better picture of him in the yard, so it's hard to tell when this one is happening because it doesn't seem like it's the same scene. But this picture just confirms that he'll be there when everyone's meeting Daenerys for the first time in the courtyard. Number 8, this is Bran inside his room that you saw him in at the end of season 7 with Samwell. You can't tell who he's talking to here, but he's just talking to one or more of them. Samwell seems like he's going to be spending the most amount of time with him during the season. 7, this is Tyrion just outside the castle walls inspecting all the preparations in the middle of the day. So this is either happening after their meeting during episode 1 or sometime during episode 2. Some of these images do seem like they're happening during episode 2. You see all the barriers that they're erecting just to slow down the hordes of whites so that it takes them longer to try and get over the walls. The whites can't use catapults, they can't use battering rams as far as we know to beat down the front gates, so the White Walkers would have to use their undead giant for that. If you remember, we got a vision of it way back during season 7 episode 1. That was Bran's vision of the army coming. The whites could just pile on top of each other one at a time, forming a makeshift mound to climb over each other to then get over the walls. Much less elegant solution for the White Walkers, but very effective nonetheless. That's why you see them fighting whites on the battlements up on top of the castle walls, because they've slowly started to get over. As far as we know, they're about 100,000 strong the last time Jon Snow was talking about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the army gets a little bit bigger as the White Walkers slowly pick up strays as they wind their way down to Winterfell. 6, this is Daenerys in one of her new Northern design-inspired dresses, sitting at the head of the table at the Great Hall at Winterfell, looking none too pleased with whatever their current argument is. Probably something to do with battle planning. Pretty safe bet that the Northern Lords will not rush to welcome her to their presence, so I expect it to be pretty cold the first couple of meetings that they have in there. This is just a wider version of that shot, so you can actually see a little bit more of the frame, but you can't see who's sitting right next to her. Depending on how much room you think is at that table, it's a pretty big table. It would still be Jon Snow, Sansa, and Bran sitting there with her. This is her in the same dress, but from a different scene inside that great hall, probably from the same episode. The look on her face just makes it seem like she's worried about something, or she just got some distressing news, but she's just having a much smaller meeting with one or two of the other characters. 5, the shot of Tyrion is also in the Great Hall, but because all the tables around him are empty and the candles are all burned down, it seems like it's after one of the meetings that they have, and he's having a more private discussion about what just transpired, either with Daenerys or Jon Snow or a couple other people. 4, this is Daenerys and Ser Jorah still wearing the same outfits that they had when they first arrived at Winterfell. He's still wearing his armor, she's still wearing that original white dress that she had way back during season 7. So it seems like it's happening earlier in the episode before their big costume change. The room that they're in has all these bookshelves and scrolls behind them, so maybe they're talking to Jon, Samwell, and Bran, but it just seems like their version of Daenerys' map table room, a place for all the leaders to actually meet with each other before you have a giant meeting in the Great Hall with all the Northern Lords. 3, this is Daenerys in the same room. You can see all the books behind her on that same shelf, but she's got on her new Northern-inspired outfit, and she's sitting at the table smiling at whoever she's talking to, like she's really happy to meet someone. So maybe this is later in the episode when she's talking to someone like Samwell in whatever this library room is, trying to explain something to her, fumbling all over his words. Bran only gives cryptic statements and disturbing portents of what's to come, so when someone is talking to Bran, usually the look on their face is one of horror or extreme surprise.
Hodor and Summer died for you. I almost died for you. Bran.
I'm not really. Not anymore.
So if anyone is going to make Daenerys smile like this, it's probably going to be Samwell, because I wouldn't expect Arya to rush to welcome her either, and obviously Sansa early in the episodes is going to be pretty cold to her as well. I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that Daenerys is going to spend most of these first couple of episodes trying to win over the people of Winterfell, particularly the she-wolves of Winterfell. Mostly Sansa, Arya Stark, and then of course the Northern Lords, but she probably wouldn't try to be quite so charming with them. Like you see her at the head of the Great Table, it seems like she'll be approaching them from more of a position of strength. Like they'll see her might and see all the things that she's done and see that Jon Snow vouches for her. Through her actions, she'll slowly win them over. But when it comes to winning family members over, like Sansa Stark, Arya Stark, because she cares about Jon Snow so much, and even if they don't address it directly in the first couple of episodes, if they were to ever get married, they would literally be family. So it's pretty reasonable to assume that she would try to bend over backwards to win them over. If you had a chance to read George R. Martin's Fire and Blood, there was also Alysanne Targaryen, the queen at the time, who was wife to Jaehaerys I, who visited Winterfell. The lord at the time was Alaric Stark. They absolutely hated her when she arrived with her dragon. She slowly won them over, and they were much closer by the time that she left to go north to the Wall to inspect the Night's Watch. So it's a relatively similar situation with Daenerys during Season 8. 2, this is Brienne out in the courtyard just watching the preparations for the battle. This shot, though, is of her inside, maybe inside the Great Hall during one of their meetings because she's still wearing the coat over her armor. All this seems like it's happening relatively early in the episodes. The actress Gwendolyn Christie said that we see more of Brienne during Season 8 than we've ever seen of her before, which makes sense. You sort of get this proximity effect because everybody's there together, so you don't have to skip an episode with a bunch of characters because they're off in some other part of Westeros that's not really critical to what's ever happening in the moment. With very few exceptions, all the main characters on the show are going to be in one of two places, either up at Winterfell or down in King's Landing. I think Jaime is going to be a bit of a straggler working his way up to Winterfell, and then Melisandre is still over in the east. There are a couple pictures of the characters outside at night. Number 1, this picture of Sansa holding the cup of what seems like soup or maybe something she's drinking might just be her inspecting all the preparations for the battle. She's got a small smile on her face, so whatever's happening in this scene here, it seems like she's chilled out a little bit. This picture of Jon Snow also seems like he's outside in the courtyard in the middle of the night, somewhere between episode 1 and episode 2 while they're preparing for everything. And even though they haven't released an official clip of it yet, they said that they gave the opening credits a big upgrade like they do every season. They just changed things a little bit, so Winterfell will look a little bit different, King's Landing will look different, maybe they'll finally add the lion sigil over King's Landing, and maybe you'll see some dragon or a Targaryen sigil up at Winterfell. But they did say that the upgrades were meant to reflect the different things that are happening in those places at the beginning of the season. Because we're only 2 weeks away from the show getting here, there are going to be a couple more bonus videos that I'll do between now and then. They'll probably drop a couple more promos. I'm not expecting a ton of brand new footage, but we might get something in the next couple of days. Leave all your video requests in the comments below. I've already got a couple big videos planned, but if there's anything specifically that you want me to address in a video, just let me know in the comments. Congratulations, Dante74, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Game of Thrones video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Click here for my breakdown of that last big